Welcome to the Kick Sugar Summit. This summit this year is extra special because we are launching our documentary project, which we hope will bring our message to millions. To kickstart our fundraising campaign, we have put together a Summit Super Bundle, which is packed with interviews, ebooks, success stories, and thousands of dollars of free gifts from our speakers. We're so excited about our documentary and super grateful for your support. Don't forget about our closing webinar, where we will summarize the top insights of the summit into a practical roadmap for lasting change. And a special thank you to our incredible sponsors and their life-changing products. Be sure to check them out. Thank you for being here. We hope you love the summit. We hope it changes your life. Hello and welcome everybody to an interview today with Dr. Vera Tarman. She's been on our Kick Sugar Summit from the very first one. Every single year she shows up, and I'm so grateful for that. And I'm sure you will be too. She has such depth of both professional and personal expertise on the topic of sugar and ultra-processed food addiction. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She's the medical director of one of Canada's largest treatment centers for substance abuse. She's a world-renowned food addiction expert. She writes, speaks, and treats people who suffer from sugar and flour addiction. She's the author of the book Food Junkies, Recovery from Food Addiction, which is now in its second edition. She's also the co-host of the very popular, wonderfully successful Food Junkies podcast, along with the wonderful Molly Painshab and Clarissa Kennedy. And she also has a Facebook group called I'm Sweet Enough, Sugar Free for Life. And her YouTube channel is Vera Tarman, MD. Welcome, Dr. Tarman.
Thank you so much, Florence, for asking me back yet again.
Thank you for keep showing up. I mean, this topic, it's just never going to go away. You know what was actually a little bit depressing today for me? I was meeting with somebody who's talking about optimizing my YouTube videos. He's like, there's 100 videos there, Florence. They're great. Like, you are not optimizing your videos. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't even know anything about it. So he goes, okay, well, let's meet. I'll tell you about it. So he was pulling up on Google these, typing in keywords and seeing how many people per month are looking at this topic. Now, sugar addiction was 4,000 a month. That's it. I'm like, there's 100 million people dying right now of sugar addiction, and only 4,000 people. Like, there's so much media coverage about the harms of sugar and ultra-processed foods.
Yeah.
And there's even media coverage of how addictive these substances are. And only 4,000 people a month are like Googling it. I just found that shocking. I thought it would be much higher. And then and then when I got a little bit even more niche, we just got into hundreds. So our work is so far from over and done. We live in these bubbles of people who've awakened, who support each other to eat whole foods and, stay away from the stuff that metabolically and mentally damages us, and the microbiome on top of it. But millions and millions and millions still truly don't have any idea, or they haven't been persuaded yet that it's worth the effort. So let's do that today. Let's go back in your story a little bit. I thought it might be interesting to talk about when you first awakened yourself to the idea that you were potentially on the food addiction spectrum. Do you remember when that was?
Well, I guess, as a younger person, I always knew that there were some foods that called to me more than others, but I was never persuaded, like you said, that I had to stop them, that they were actually the thing that kept me coming back, like that there was something addictive about it. It wasn't really, even though I had some evidence in front of me, whenever I would stop, and I would proudly say, I've quit sugar for 2 years. And then when I remember once I proudly thought that, and then I was in a comfortable situation, laying in bed somewhere, and my partner had something sweet, and I thought, well, it's been 2 years, and I shouldn't, but it didn't. The dots still did not connect that I really shouldn't have it because I would want more. I thought that my taste was now deadened and that I would like it, but that would be the end of it. It just didn't clue in that that would actually just awaken the monster within. Um, and it wasn't until I started working in addictions and I started hearing that language with people who are struggling with alcohol and cocaine, and this whole idea of when you want one, it awakens the desire for more. It opens up the phenomena of craving. And then I thought, that's what's happening with me and sugar. So it took me being in that field, and then sort of at the same time as that, this was in the late 1990s, when I came across Nora Volkov's article where who was talking about, she was the head of the American Society of Addiction Medicine, and talking about addiction and the paradigm of addiction with alcohol and cocaine and tobacco. And she had this Soul Journal month just on sugar. And I thought, there it is. There is the proof. And then it was like, once the glasses were on, I couldn't unsee that anymore. I'd had that aha moment personally, and then I had this professional thing, which kind of got me on the road, because now I believed it, but I would be out there in the world and I would say, no, this is like a drug for me. And I had constantly people telling me, don't be silly, Vera. This is another Vera thing. She's doing another crazy diet, another crazy idea. Get with the program and just eat normally like the rest of us. And that made me want to speak out more publicly, because I found that the public pressure was as difficult as the private pressure. And in fact, it was harder for me. And then once I did that, I started meeting other people. And then it just became like you said earlier, it's so obvious to us, and there's so many of us, but we need to break the barrier somehow to make it believable in the larger world, and that we're still struggling with that today. But because I have, a strong community around me, I'm no longer tempted myself.
Hmm. Hmm. Right. You've put your addiction into remission.
Yeah, exactly.
When you go back to that moment, you're lying in bed and your partner has something sweet, and you think, oh, it's been 2 years. I could probably have a little.
Yeah,
Remember what happened next? Did you have a little and then
yeah.
did
I had a little, and it was like, oh yeah, right. Now, I think that the very first bite was probably a little bit. It's like if you're an ex-smoker, that first puff of a cigarette is like, ugh. But it doesn't take much. It takes another cigarette, and all of a sudden, it's all back. Like, it didn't take long. I think it was like, the first bite is okay. I might as well finish it, and then it all came back, and it was like this whole world which had been quietened, and it really shows me, as you said, addiction in remission. It woke it up, and then I wanted, I really enjoyed that. Now, I wasn't out there, rummaging the closet or the fridge for more at that point, but it opened the door, and the desire kept that door open, so that I would, I don't know if it was the next day or the next week, I probably tried to maintain myself somewhat, but it wasn't long before I was back to wanting it all the time. I would say for sure within a week or 2 weeks. And that would be the same as if I were to pick up cigarettes again. I remember my father, who was my model for quitting smoking. He quit, and this is a really good example of how a modeled behavior can make a big difference. He just quit smoking one day and said, "You can do it. You just can do it." And I thought, well, if he can do it, so can I. But one of the things that he said is, never pick up a cigarette again. And I knew similarly, once I realized the dots connected, I don't pick up a little bit of something again, because it might not be that bite, but it might be, it might not be that cigarette, but it'll be somewhere in that pack of cigarettes that I've just bought that I'm going to want the rest of them. It doesn't take long to awaken that. And that's what we call the phenomenon of craving is awoken. So now I have no desire for sugar now, but I am in recovery very, very intensely, because I don't want that moment of persuasion is still floating around, and I don't want to give into it. So I protect myself, not so much from the sugar right now, but from the insidious little voice that says, it's okay. Don't be so extreme, Vera.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Totally. That was so helpful to hear. Do you remember how long it was that you struggled again before you thought, "Oh man, I've just awakened the addiction"? And then what happened next? Did you decide to go into 12 steps or
I think what probably happened was that was the time when I started work. Like I said, I'd had many times when I'd been clean, and then I guess now we use the terminology relapse. And it was probably just after that that I read that article and had the penny drop that this is the same as the pattern of behavior that I see at work. Um, and so then what I did after that was I quit sugar, and went back onto my 2 year plan of quitting sugar, hopefully longer than 2 years. And I started to look for 12-step support because I knew then, okay, this is an addiction, and there, by the way, are 12-step programs for food. Why not access them? So I went first of all to Overeaters Anonymous, OA, to see if I could get help there because it made sense. I was a member of AA as well, but forget about quitting sugar in AA because there's so much donuts and everything there. It's all about just quitting alcohol, even if it means eating sugar. So that was not a help. But I went to OA, and I just remember thinking at that particular time, I had when I quit sugar, I lost a fair amount of weight. Um, I lost a lot more when I quit flour and grains, but at that point, and I remember going into the OA rooms and thinking, okay, here I am struggling, but I seem to be the best one in this room of 10 people. I have the best weight. Basically, none of them had what I wanted, which was peace around food and also not, well, basically peace around food. They were still struggling, and it was kind of like a bitch fest about why they couldn't. It was more like their struggles about quitting sugar rather than how to live sugar free. So I thought, well, OA is not really going to work for me. And then somebody told me about FA. I mean, can I continue on about the
please,
specifics? Yeah.
please. Yeah.
FA, Food Addicts in Recovery Anonymous. And I did actually, so they said quit sugar and quit flour. And that really made a lot of sense to me because if I quit sugar, automatically a lot of flour products are off the realm because so much of floury stuff has sugar in it. But then even just floury stuff like a breaded schnitzel, forget the breaded stuff, just eat the veal or whatever. I just found that my cravings got less, and so that was better. But the FA program, they had so many rules around not the food, but around the behavior. That I don't know if it was the specifics of the groups that I was going to, or if it was FAA in general. I've been told since, no, you really had to shop around and find the right group, which is the same with AA and GSA, which is where I belong now. You have to really find the right group. But anyway, they had rules like I'd have to quit AA and just go to FA. And I thought, no, I can't do that. I can't quit AA. The rules at that time. And I had to do meetings in person that, like, regardless of, and I had to call, like, I had to do a lot of stuff that was pretty dogmatic in that if I didn't do it, I lost my sobriety. So I thought, well, this is not really working for me. And then I stumbled across somebody who was in another 12-step group called Gray Sheeters Anonymous, and this person said, okay, we actually add, there's no sugar and no flour and also no grains, which I thought, well, okay, I mean, I liked my steel cut oats and my quinoa, but I could give them up. But that made a huge difference, quitting the grains. But they had a weigh and measure without exception, like including restaurants. So, I mean, if you ask me how happy I am in GSA, that's going to be one of my complaints, is that I find the scale difficult, but I guess necessary. But anyway, the thing I liked about them was that those external rules were kind of more relegated into high recommendations, but I didn't lose my sobriety. So I could still go to AA. I could still go to an AA meeting along with the GSA meeting. Like, there was a little more flexibility. It was still pretty rigid, but at least the people that I met and the groups that I met, it was more manageable. And so I found my home there. And so quitting the sugar, flour, and grains, and then weighing and measuring, which controlled the volume piece, of which I definitely had an issue with. I would have like this huge bowl of lettuce, salad. Like my partner would laugh at me. I guess it's healthy, but it's a lot.
Mm.
Anyway, the other thing about Gray Sheet is they really let you eat a lot. So now I don't have to eat as much as I did then, but it did kind of fulfill the volume criteria without being over the top. So it fit enough criteria that it worked for me. But I know that there's a lot of people who are happy in FA, and or other 12-step groups. I don't know that many who are happy in OA unless they found a sort of special group that works for them.
Mhm.
But just to sort of sum up this little part of our conversation, if anybody is thinking about doing 12-step, really food like 12-step food groups, you have to shop around. Don't just assume that what you're seeing, oh, that's that group, forget it. We have a saying in all 12-step, which is go to 6 meetings and check them out. And I would say do that for sure in FAA and GSA and even OA, and find them. And if I can, I say here, Florence, I did do a YouTube video on the various 12-step comparisons. If anybody wants to check that out on my YouTube channel. But anyway, bottom line is shop around. And I would suggest that it's free, it's available. If there's stuff that bothers people, like the God stuff, and even with GSA, depending on the group, there's a lot of Christian God stuff, and you really have to weed around it or learn to numb out to that. And you can, like, it's doable, but it does require a bit of work. There are now plenty of other ways to get help, like secularly without 12 step, but this is free, and it's pretty tight, but you have to shop around.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for that. And I would also say you can shop around between the different groups and you can also shop around with sponsors. If you don't feel safe,
Yes, yes,
don't feel a connection. If you don't feel safe, you're not going to stay. You know, there's an expression that you don't quit jobs, you quit bosses. I feel
ah,
similar with programs that sometimes we
yes,
quit programs because our sponsor doesn't feel safe to us. There's a level of rigidity that you will sponsors run the spectrum. Some
yes,
are
they do.
like buy the book and they're really comfortable with that what works for them. It makes them anxious to have a sponsee who needs a little bit more flexibility because it feels like it threatens their own
Yeah.
recovery. And there are other sponsors that are very comfortable being a bit fluid. They kind of describe it more like having a dog on a leash, one of those flexi leashes.
Oh yeah.
They have that capacity. They're not too
Yes.
worried. I'll
Yeah.
tell you, like I've heard some of the craziest stuff coming out of 12-step food addiction recovery world. For example, I once had a sponsor whose sponsor
Yeah.
um, told her she had to eat her meals. Like, that's it. We eat our meals. Our body needs the nutrition, honey. Just eat it. I know sometimes we're not hungry. Just eat it anyways. She's like, but I feel really sick. Like, I'm really not feeling well. And she said, well, just try and eat some. Anyway, so she threw up and had to call her sponsor back to say, I threw it all up. And I thought, oh my gosh,
Uh,
I
yeah.
will, I would never feel safe with the sponsor
Yeah.
who I can't call to say I have the flu or I'm really not hungry. It would be an act of violence to eat right now. I'm going
Uh,
to go back to bed. I'll try with my lunch, right? Who
yeah.
wouldn't honor that? They would make me throw up before I'm taken seriously. For
Yeah.
others, they need that. That works. Great. But it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
There's
Exactly.
spectrum of flexibility from really rigid. I've had a sponsor who no spices. I had to throw them all out.
Oh
No
wow.
spices. No salt and pepper, that's it. No spices. I had to all throw them out. You can never spice your food. Because there
Wow.
was such a current of fear that if this
Uh-huh.
anything could hijack us. And I thought, I am so uptight right now.
Like just like not even being able to enjoy your food is, I guess they're saying, is a trigger. Like I don't agree with that.
It's a threat. It was like, oh gosh, if we like it too much, we got to get to food neutrality. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I didn't know better. I was in
Uh-huh.
a program. I was desperate. I was like, I was open to help. I had to prove that I was willing. So
Yeah.
the things we'll do to prove that we're willing to our sponsors can be really like crazy. But all that to say, if it doesn't fit for you, there are thousands of wonderful sponsors who have, it's just finding the fit. So enough about that. But I wanted to go back. So you were off sugar, then flour, you joined Gray Sheeters, you've dropped grains.
Yeah.
How quickly did you feel well, or did you not? Like, go back to the first 90 days, because that's usually the roughest transition.
Oh,
Recall.
well, with the sugar, it would be hard to remember because that was really a long time ago. Like I said, 16 years ago. But I would say that I usually felt better, um, like fairly quickly, like within a week, I felt better, like less foggy and less tired. I think tired was I think probably the main thing that I noticed, and part of that was weight loss as well. It was that I just felt much less tired, and probably that was within the first few weeks, um, because I remember thinking, here I am, 35 years old, huffing and puffing. Now I was, a lot heavier than I am now, but just too tired to go upstairs and to go up a hill at that age. And when I stopped eating sugar, and then definitely as the weight started coming up, which by the way started happening fairly quickly, like within a couple of weeks, 5 pounds and then 10 pounds, that sort of thing. Um, uh, I remember thinking at one point, and it was probably in the second month, I remember thinking, I feel like I am 10 years younger than I was when I was eating that stuff, and at a higher weight. And that's continued. Now I'm getting older, but I still feel more energetic because I remember literally, affecting a nice walking stick, saying, hey, this is part of my image, but it was really to help me sort of get up that hill because I lived on the top of a hill, which later I didn't need at all. And then I just thought, well, I really like this cane, but I can't really use it anymore. So
Mhm.
anyway,
So you just you felt better pretty quick.
yeah. And then the grain, that was also a surprise when I quit the grains. I lost, I think like within the sugar and then flour, I had lost about 70, maybe 80 pounds in the space of, I don't know, 6 or 8 months. Like, it wasn't all right away. But then the grains, there was that sort of that stubborn 20 pounds that wouldn't move, but it went away with the grains. Like within 2 months, it was gone. It's like, wow, I had no idea grains, which are healthy, supposedly, would create such a thing. But it also meant that that was also the time when I started weighing and measuring. So I don't actually know how much of that was just volume control as well. But I think the grains had something to do with it.
Mhm.
So it can make a difference to people. Not everybody, but a lot of us who don't eat grains will say it can make, it's like that last straw, that last lingering whatever, cravings, fatigue, weight gets kind of busted out with getting rid of the grains.
Mhm, mhm. And
Yeah.
so you just felt better and better and better. And now
Yes.
you've just
Over the
celebrated
course of a year. Yeah.
okay. And have you seen in your program that that's not always the case?
I see in my program that a significant amount of people will lose symptoms and even the beginning of weight, and of course things like insulin and medications, like within 3 or 4 weeks. Like usually something happens that's fairly dramatic in the first month, and that's usually enough to motivate somebody. And then if they have the patience, I don't know what the numbers are, but a significant amount in terms of months will lose weight and lose symptomatology. There are still people, absolutely, maybe 20%, who get to a point and then it doesn't move. It doesn't move. They're still struggling, or like with weight or with cravings. And I don't know. Then I would say, okay, what else is feeding the addiction? What else is causing a trigger that might be specific to that person? Because I have found that that changes all the time. Foods that I could eat, like I think probably when I quit grains, I also quit cashews, nuts, and I was a big fan of those, and that probably made quite a difference right there. Um, and then, of course, there are people who, right from the get go, struggle and struggle and struggle. Like there is that crowd.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
it's actually smaller than I think it appears, because I don't know if a lot of people just don't have the support that they need if they want to get abstinent to achieve abstinence. They just may not have like the right sponsor or the right support. They can't afford if they don't want to go to 12 step, a secular program. And if somehow that could be put in place, they would be okay. But there is a small group, despite support, mega support, they still don't move. And it's that small group that I do wonder if maybe something like the GLP-1s are maybe an option. But I would really myself like to see that be a second as opposed to a first option.
Right, right, right. Amazing. Thank you for sharing all that. And I just want to say that Dr. Tarman has just had 10 years in her 12-step program of back-to-back, weighed and measured meals, no exceptions, total peace. Like that's a heck of a milestone. Those of us who come out of the 12-step food addiction recovery world, we know that is an amazing milestone.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Now it's not with entire peace. Like there are still miniature struggles within the paradigms. Like I would say that I'm gray sheet abstinent, but I still struggle. I don't know if the word is struggle. But it's like minor struggle, and that is like with sweeteners. Should I have sweeteners? Shouldn't I? Should I have sugar-free gum? Shouldn't I? Sometimes I don't. No, no, no. And then I slip back and I have it, and I'm kind of in one of those right now. And I don't think that will last. But it's I'm still abstinent from a gray sheet point of view. Am I abstinent from a peace of mind? Maybe not as much as I am when I'm not eating that stuff. But it's kind of like the hard is much less, the struggle is much less. It's still within a fine, like I guess when it hurts enough, I'll stop.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right, right. When the piece that it takes from you isn't worth it.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But overall, definitely compared to before, there's no question about it. I mean, now the scale, I still am not in love with the scale. I mean, the big scale, the weight scale, the body scale. But I'm not afraid of it like I used to be. Like it was like a menace in the examining room. Oh my God, that thing over there that's going to make me feel terrible. Now it's just like, ah, shit, I got it. It's another 2 pounds, or it's not what I want. But it's not 20 pounds. It's not 100 pounds. So, but then I have the annoyance of having the small scale, the food scale, which I don't mind, except when I'm out. That's when I don't like it.
Got it. Yeah, right. These trade-offs.
Yes.
I know, and I feel like it was a seismic, like the earth tilted on its axis when the first person, and I don't know who it was, had
Uh-huh.
the eureka moment that sugar is addictive, that it's an opiate.
Oh,
Flour
yeah.
got mixed. We understood that refined carbohydrates are addictive, just like alcohol, like cigarettes. And when that epiphany went on, we're like, oh
Yeah.
my, we can stop struggling. We can just put addiction in remission. If the substance is the problem, it's activating the brain neurophysiology of addiction. And we put the substance down and we can put this problem into remission. Like that was a massive, massive revelation. But there's also people coming in to say, oh, why you got to be like that?
Yeah.
Come on.
That's it.
Right? Like, so it is a huge revelation for humans to understand these substances, these refined carbohydrates are addictive. But there's other people going, why do you got to be so extreme? Like, why do you have to call it an addiction? Why can't you support the rest of the planet? Because no one wants to give it up. No one. We have
Yeah.
really darn good reason to we have to be so miserable that we're willing even to consider it.
Uh, I think that the key there is that we need to reframe the refined carbohydrates, which are known as treats and fun things to do, as toxins and as poison and as non-food. And if we can kind of get around that and go back to appreciating the occasional piece of fruit as the delightful thing that you do on a birthday party or something like that, um, and don't have these foods labeled as foods, then it's the fact that they're labeled as foods that makes it like we're extreme. We're not extreme because they're poisons.
I hear you. I know. And I just think the rest of the world, why there's only 4,000 people searching sugar addiction,
Uh-huh.
like, come on, why you got to be like that? My
Uh-huh.
mom made the homemade cookies. They're all made from scratch. There's total love. It's totally harmless. Like, why? Right. But so the second revelation is just, anyway, so let's talk about GLP-1s. So there's likely going to be a drop in people looking at ultra processed foods and they just want the pill, they just want the jab, but it's not enough. So talk to us a bit about what we need to understand about GLP-1s. It's not the solution to food addiction anyways. So what do you want people to know and understand?
Well, I before I get into the worries about it, I am aware that as big as it is, I mean, I saw again in the Guardian, I think it was, that again the companies can't meet the need, the want, the desire. They're again saying, no, we got to keep it for the people who have diabetes and not for anybody else. Like it's that much in demand, and it's going to become even more in demand as there's further and further recognition or um, marketing, that's probably a better term, aimed towards the non-dietary positive effects of GLP-1s, like just anti-cravings. Like just waiting for, first of all, GLP-1s to become oral, which I expect that they will be pill form within a year or two. And then they'll be next to Campril and naltrexone, which are sort of classic anti-craving drugs for alcohol and other drugs. The GLP-1s will be listed there as well. So I'm expecting to see even further use before we start really worrying about it. But those of us in the field who don't like the quick fix have been worried about it right from the get-go. And as we see the GLP-1s being used more and more, I mean, we were worried from the get-go because we know what the solution is, and this is going to obfuscate, it will obliterate our solution for the easier, softer way solution, right? The quick jab, the quick pill, so that all of our work is going to feel like, you know, what about us? Hey, we've got a solution here. And but anyway, I'm hoping that we can stay the course because we are seeing now that the GLP-1s are, they really are just a short-term fix. And just like bariatric surgery has tremendous results, we know that after 3 to 5 years, a lot of people, especially if they haven't done what we say, which if they'd done in the first place, they wouldn't need the surgery. But anyway, eventually, if they do follow a diet that's removed of refined carbohydrates and sugars, they'll just start gaining the weight back. And so then we see people going for a second surgery, or what we're seeing now is the second surgery or the GLP-1s, even after bariatric surgery. So it's a short term, and now we're seeing with the GLP-1s that cravings that stop, like people will say how exciting, the food noise is gone, starts to come back 3, 6, 9 months, a year later. And then what happens? Well, you have to up your dose. Now, I think what the companies are doing is saying, well, we're getting more complicated drugs that will include GLP-1 manipulations plus other hormonal manipulations. Like we have one drug right now that has 2 hormonal manipulations. So, and that's considered better than the others. I think it's Monjaro. And I'm expecting within a year, we're going to see one with 3 hormonal manipulations. So there'll always be something new when the drug you're on doesn't work. But eventually, like, what are we doing? So what do we have? We'll have what we have now in the psychiatric world, which is people who are on 4 or 5 cocktail of medications to treat a mood disorder that in the 1990s, a person was on only 1 pill, only 1. And it was not considered wise to double up or to use another drug, augment. Now it's considered standard practice. And we're going to see that with the GLP-1s, augmentation, I think. And why? Because it's a short-term solution and tolerance will develop. And of course, there's all the side effects. So those of us who are in the field, I mean, some people will say, what's wrong with the GLP-1s? I mean, we say, first of all, it's short-term. The moment you get off of them, the cravings come back with a vengeance. So they say, well, then you'll stay on it the rest of your life. What's wrong with that? People do that with insulin. And so why can't you accept that, Vera, Dr. Tarman? And we say, because we actually have another solution that is free and has no side effects. And how can we promote something that has side effects, that is very expensive, that is just further complicating your own hormonal, gastric biome, whatever? I don't even know all the stuff that it's doing long term. When we have something that does nothing, like that's That's the piece that, unlike insulin, where there's nothing else, okay, fair enough. But in this case, there is something else, which is just quit eating the stuff that's making the mess in the first place.
Right.
Well,
And like,
Florence, you asked for my soapbox on this, and I've
oh,
just given it to you.
no, thank you. And I think we all kind of agree it's a bit heartbreaking that they think the solution's there and they're going to be underwhelmed. It's just a matter of time. But if they
Yeah.
use it as a bridge, if they use it to
Yes.
help them get those cravings down, they can get their feet under them, they can be introduced to the idea that just give it time, you will fall in love with whole foods. You will. You will
Yeah.
one day find Brussels sprouts and lettuce and blueberries more than sweet enough, that we don't have to
Yeah.
give up sweet and sugar and pleasure of food just temporarily till we recalibrate the body. And the Wegovy and the Manjaros and whatever, you know,
Yeah.
Olympics can maybe sort of bridge us, but with the right sort of the long-term game is, let's get back to whole foods. And the short-term game is maybe this will with the intention of phasing off it. And you know what
Yeah.
drives me a bit nuts?
And with the intention of getting support, because when they get off of it, their cravings will come back, even though they're eating good foods. But they'll have the support to transition, because it only takes 2 or 3 weeks for those cravings to settle down.
The cravings come back. So even if they get on a whole food meal plan and they get off of a GLP-1, they phase that out and they're on to whole foods, their cravings will come back.
I think that well, to tell you the truth, I don't actually know. I just know that cravings come back, like everything come back. The amount, the desire, the volume. I can't see how just eating. I think that some of this, maybe it's memory. I don't know what it is, but I do think that it's not just a matter of now you're eating well, you can get off them and no problem. But I think it's cut in half. And if you have the supports, like I've been going to Florence's program or something like that, then I'm already keyed in. I'm already locked into a support system to help me get through that awful 1 or 2 weeks, which might not be that awful.
Right,
But
right.
I don't think that it's a pure bridge, like stopping completely. Um,
Okay.
but it's easier. You think about something like methadone and opiates. Like when the person gets off methadone, they do have to taper. They do have to. I mean, they've lost a lot of their behavior, the addictive, using the fentanyl and whatnot. But there's still the physiological withdrawal of this drug that's been the bridge. I do think there's something, but it's doable.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right, right. Totally makes sense. And I was recently doing an interview for the summit, and someone was telling me about how GLP-1s are made of peptides, and peptides are sourced from amino acids, and amino acids come from protein. And I'm like,
yeah,
wow, we totally know that in food addiction recovery spaces, that enough protein
yeah,
turns off. Like there's a level of satiation, and everyone's kind of protein levels a little bit different. Some can do more to reach, some might need more for that satiation that you can get with a GLP-1. But how
yeah,
encouraging is that that we can they're a concentrated form of peptides that do impact hormones and the L cells in the stomach that turn on satiation, like all of that. But that's protein, amino acids, peptides from whole foods.
yeah.
And many of us,
Eh,
given enough support and enough time, do a very similar thing.
Yeah, and we have to, if a person's going to be on a GLP-1 ethically, they have to be eating a lot of protein because there's so much muscle loss that happens that they have to be
Yeah.
eating a high protein diet anyway.
Yeah. But it's hard to do when your digestive tract shut down and you don't have enough,
Yes, right.
which is why I think there's probably muscle mass. I think that the drug is being blamed for things that it's not actually the drug's fault, I think, and they're being given credit for things that's not really. For example, I do study I saw yesterday that they're showing that GLP-1s are improving asthma. I'm like, are
Oh,
they?
wow.
Or are these people eating less junk food and that's
Oh,
improving
yeah.
asthma, that's improving
Yes.
diabetes, that's improving heart disease? Like
Yeah.
all they're getting credit for the actual thing that we're talking about, which is you drop the processed
Yes.
consumption, ramp up the whole foods, and miracles
Yes.
happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw a similar thing when they said that GLP-1s are going to help dementia. And I thought, well, that's because we're not eating the sugar that's creating the dementia.
I
Yeah.
wonder that, right? And then they're also being blamed for muscle loss. Is it really causing muscle loss, or are people just not eating enough protein now that they don't have much of an appetite? And is it really the drug side effect, or is it just, it's all about the effects of food, the powerful effects of food for better or worse? Anyways, um, let's talk about, do I have to give up sugar forever? So most people fear, I don't think they're going to walk our path. So if we're going to be helpful to the average person who wants to know how to reduce and mostly eliminate, and they're going to have the question, do I really have to give it up forever? What would you say?
I would, what I always say, you just have to give it up for today. That's what I would say. Now, if you want to talk from the context of theory and not the practical lived experience, because nobody can give something up forever, but they can for today. That then I would urge the person again to see this as, well, why would you want to start smoking a cigarette once in a while when you recognize now that it's a toxin? Do you have to quit forever? I guess not, but why would you want to? So similarly with sugar, like if we reframe it, then we're asking, can I have asbestos every once in a while just because, I don't know, like, why would you? Um, so that's my take. If the person is not truly food addicted and they are able to moderate because they haven't gone sort of overboard, over the across the line, then and you will only know that by trying it yourself. Then you can see maybe you can moderate if you want. If you want to say yes, occasionally I'll have a cigar or a pipe on my birthday or something like that. Um, so, but you'll only know that by trying it yourself. I think most people um, who have I think most people intuitively know that they have to not have it again. But if they don't know, that's where we say you have to do the research. And you do have to do the research because I can't tell you. You're going to keep asking. Like, people need to know this for themselves. I had to ask myself multiple times. But there was a time when I knew, no, I can't do this again. And I know I can't. Yeah.
And I
Now,
find,
if you're asking the scientific question, do you have to stop? I would say that if you have crossed over a line biologically, like the receptors have downregulated and they become so fragile, I do believe that there's a biological point at which a person should not return and try once in a while. That they're too their system is too fragile to withstand that kind of assault. But that's not everybody.
yeah, say more about that. What do you mean by assault and what do you mean by fragile? I
Well,
understand down regulation, but the fragile piece is new to me.
well, it's that when there's it's both physiological and also psychological. Like when a person has gone to a certain level of like the downregulation, the body starts to compensate and your cues become more sensitive because there's less receptors, and then there's some memory that hangs on. You've got the psychological cues as well. All of these things become too potent that even so that when you stop, they're, like we said, in remission. But if you reintroduce the substance, it you you haven't fully recovered, so that there's still some part of you that's at that level and will just pick up. It's like kindling.
Mhm.
Uh, there's different sort of bodies of literature that talk about this, but kindling is one that invites the analogy of like kindling of a fire. The kindling of a seizure, for example, never goes away once you've had a seizure and then multiple seizures. But if you avoid whatever causes the seizure in the first place, like drugs or light or stress or whatever it is, then it's not there. But if that is there, that trigger is there, the kindling is all there, and you have the seizure. And I think that there's some similar process that's happening neurologically with addiction, that it's still there, and it just requires the flame, the initial food, the sugar again, the reintroduction to sugar that then brings it back again. Um, Yes. So I think that there's some, and in my article, I talk about this at length. My article on abstinence, the importance of abstinence. I talk about this more. If anybody wants to read it, it's in Frontiers in Psychiatry. Um, and then on the psychological level, think about somebody who's had a post-traumatic stress experience, and they have just the trigger of the loud sound, the shout, the something, and they're back to their memory. And I think it's similar to that with food. You're back at risk.
Mhm. Right. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you're camping and everyone's checking the fire to make sure it's out. It's totally out. There's
Yeah.
no little ember hiding under the pile of
Uh-huh.
ash and the half burnt logs. Like it looks out, but it isn't. You don't know it's fully out until you put water on it, and then there's a little sizzle.
Yeah.
Wow, you would never have
Right.
guessed there was no heat. It didn't look like it, but just that little. There's still that little ember that stays in us that can flare
Yeah.
up to
Yeah.
a fire. Yeah. Um. Awesome. Is there anything else you would like us to know today about the topic of sugar, ultra-processed food, about recovery?
Well, I do want to go back to the concept of abstinence because it's a big one. People are like, I can't quit this forever. To just say you might not be that person that has to quit forever. So find out. And so that would invite a sort of harm reduction approach. But eventually, if you find that, like I did over the years, that it just kept coming back, the problem, then that's the answer, that you're going to have to stop it. And then we have a tool, because in the addiction world we have a whole bag full of tools, and one of them is you just quit for today. And then if you quit for today, every day, 365 days, 10 years later, you say you have 10 years. Like it's and then at a certain point, not that long, 3 months later, you don't even want it anymore. It's like I walk by a crowd of smokers and I just think, thank God that's not me. I walk by a Starbucks where there's people eating stuff, and I know how they're going to feel in a half an hour, and I think, thank God that's not me. Like, it's not like a feeling of deprivation by any means. So I do want to suggest that part of that fear that a person has who's listening, going, oh my God, how am I going to do this? That is your addiction talking. And the good news is that addict will be quenched, quietened within 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I think for individuals like you that had other addictions, you had alcohol and did you have alcohol?
Yeah. And tobacco.
And tobacco. So when you have a substance addiction and you've worked on those and then you come to food, I have absolutely noticed a correlation between those who understand food addiction as a substance. Substance is the problem. Stop eating the substance, problem gone. Do it
Yeah.
one day at a time, rinse and repeat. That's it. It's over.
Yeah.
The addiction
Yes.
goes into remission. It's not all that hard. Once you understand the concept,
Yes.
substance is the problem. That's it. It's the problem. The solution is don't eat it, don't drink it. Done. You're free. You can go sail off into the sunset and live your life, more or
Yeah,
less.
except that there's a four, and that is, how do I stay stopped? And that's a big one. And that's where you come in, like the summit comes in and the podcast come in and all that stuff. It's the reminder, it's the persistent reminder, because the addict within will constantly be saying something to bring this all back. Like it's that's the part that doesn't really, it's like it's the engine is always idling, or that fire that's never.
That little ember
Yeah.
is still, it's
Yeah.
always looking to catch. It's
Yeah, and
on.
and and it will. And so if you have a constant reminder that, no, that's just the old, you know, it's still there, and you develop a bemused attitude around it. But the only way that I can maintain a bemused attitude is to continue to be in an environment like I'm in, where I am in a bubble where we don't believe that sugar is a good thing. Like, I'm not out there in the world. I'm not working in the liquor industry selling the stuff. I'm not a waitress trying to, get people to buy the desserts. If I don't know, that would be hard. That's where I think we need the number four, which is the persistent support, and
Right.
which might just be listening to a podcast a day or once a week, or doing something to remind us.
And for people who don't have experience, like I have no other substance addiction. I don't even drink coffee,
Ah,
like nothing. I can't, I have a very sensitive brain. I get migraines really quickly.
yeah, I remember you saying that.
Right. So I just have
Yeah.
had such a short leash. I mean, I suppose there's people with migraines who do coffee knowing they might get a migraine and it's worth it to them, or they take an Advil and they're fine. It just wasn't. Mine were so bad. They'd go on 10, 12, 14 days, two visits to the urgent care. Morphine didn't touch it. Like
Ah,
it just isn't worth it to me. So I didn't have the option. And I also wasn't really a good partier. I was an existentialist. I was a philosophy student. I wanted to talk about Nietzsche and Heidegger and what's the meaning of life and what the hell are we doing down here exactly? Does anyone know?
uh-huh.
No, you guys want to, you don't want to talk about this at a party? Oh shit, well, I'm in the wrong place.
Ah, yeah.
So I didn't have that kind of personality. So I didn't have the experience of knowing that there's a substance that's toxic and I don't need it. I don't need it ever, like
Yeah.
alcohol or cigarettes. I just had food and I don't have that same understanding that you have around substance is the problem, abstinence is the solution in the same way because food is such a spectrum.
Huh. Yes.
You know what I mean? It's not like alcohol, plug in the jug, done. It's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, honey, well, what about gluten-free sourdough bread?
Uh-huh.
There's so much subtle nuance. I can't look at that and think it's really bad.
Uh-huh.
Quinoa, what is 60% protein? So there's so much more complexity in trying to figure out how to tell your brain it's bad, don't eat it. When you're like, come on,
Uh-huh. Yeah, I
not,
know.
not
But
really, not like alcohol or cigarettes.
no, it is going to be a game of trial and error, or of what is it, list by omission? Just seeing what you have to remove. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it is very personalized. And like I said, over time, it can change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, right. Like what takes your peace and is it worth it? If it's not,
That's it.
just give it time. You won't miss it. You'll be like Vera going, whew, thank God I'm not a smoker anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there any final words you'd like to share today about this incredibly courageous, life-changing journey that we're inviting people to experiment with to see, what it does for them?
Yeah, I would like to leave with a message of hope that it may sound daunting, it may sound um, like an unhappy life, like why would I want to live my life that way? It's actually opening the door to freedom. It's the pain of it is very short lived. If you get support, it's even quite easy. Not easy. It's doable, and then you will be free. Like it is so worth it. And once you're on the other side, it's freedom. Like it's I wake up in the morning without the depression of not wanting to look at myself in the mirror or get on the weight scale, worry about food, worry about what I'm going to wear. Like all of that stuff is removed. And I get to live life in between meals. And maybe I'll end with this. I actually still love the food that I eat. Now, because I love it so much, I still have to weigh and measure to make sure I don't eat too much of it. But even that, I feel safe. What I have, it's a full plate. I love it. And I don't feel bad that I've eaten too much or too little. It's just I get to eat it for free. And so there's no deprivation here. It's actually exquisite. It's exquisite.
It is exquisite. You know what? I do long stretches without spices, not just because I had a sponsor who said no.
Uh,
I freaking love the food. Like I love
uh,
food. I genuinely do. Like I can put food together. My husband says, "Ain't nobody else would ever eat that." I'm like, I
right.
really love it. Like it's a simple piece of whatever, like salmon and asparagus, and like it's lovely. I don't need anything on it. It's lovely. And you get there, even though
Yes.
that's impossible. Yeah. Thank you so much for your inspiration, your time, your science, your dedication of decades to this work. I really appreciate it.
And thank you, Florence.
Bye, everybody. I hope you loved that interview. And don't forget that at the end of this summit, I will pull everything together in a wrap-up webinar. It usually lasts about 3 hours, and I will share the core insights of all of our speakers and share practical next steps for you so you can make it actionable in your life. And as a final reminder that if you decide to donate to our documentary this year, which we're very, very grateful for because we're super excited about it, you will receive access to our super bundle, which has literally thousands of dollars of free gifts some of the best interviews over the past 5 years on our summit, and credit in the film, and of course, our unending, enduring appreciation. See you in the next interview.